The Silent Guardians. The emergency klaxon pierced the quiet hum of Earth's deep space monitoring station Epsilon, causing Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen to jolt upright at her console. 20 years in Earth's Interstellar Defense Corps had trained her to respond instantly to such alerts, though they remained mercifully rare. Source identified, announced Specialist Thomas Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Unknown signal pattern, originating from the Cygnus sector, approximately 23 light-years from Sol. Maya moved swiftly to his station, her eyes narrowing as she studied the waveform. Not one of ours, she confirmed, and not a standard coalition pattern either. The signal pulsed with an unusual cadence, unlike anything in their extensive database. Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura entered the monitoring center, his weathered face showing lines of concern. In the 3 decades since humanity had made first contact with the Galactic Coalition, Earth had maintained a cautious stance in interstellar politics. Classified as a Class 12 Death World, Earth and its colonies existed on the fringes of galactic society, feared and misunderstood by most spacefaring species. Translation algorithm is parsing the message now, sir, Maya reported, stepping aside for the Admiral. The computer worked silently for several moments before a soft voice emanated from the speakers. To any receiving species, this is Ambassador Killox of the Arxian Scientific Cooperative Vessel Harmony of Worlds. We have been seized by scourge raiders who have killed 4 of our crew. 23 survivors are being transported to unknown coordinates. We are peaceful researchers and carry no weapons. Our captors demand resources we cannot provide. If any can assist without violence, our beliefs prohibit bloodshed. Please respond on this frequency. Silence blanketed the control room as the message repeated once before fading to static. The Arxians, Nakamura murmured. Philosophers and scientists. Their homeworld orbits a red dwarf with barely half Earth's gravity and a perfect climate. They've contributed enormously to coalition medicine. Maya nodded. And they've been among the few species willing to engage with humans directly rather than through intermediaries. How long would it take our nearest patrol ship to intercept? Nakamura asked. Rodriguez checked the deployment map. The UES Intrepid could reach their last known coordinates in approximately 5 days, sir. Too long. Nakamura's expression hardened. The Scourge won't keep hostages alive that long unless they believe there's profit in it. He made his decision quickly. Contact Fort Olympus. Tell them to ready the Whisper for immediate deployment. And get me Captain Vargas. Maya's eyes widened. Sir, the Whisper is an experimental craft. It's never been deployed on a rescue mission. Which is precisely why the Scourge won't expect it, Nakamura replied. The Arxians asked for assistance without violence if possible. Sometimes, the mere threat of what humans are capable of can accomplish more than actual combat. Captain Elena Vargas stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital military headquarters, Fort Olympus, staring at the sleek, obsidian hull of the UES Whisper. Unlike the bulky, utilitarian vessels that formed the backbone of Earth's defense fleet, the Whisper resembled a predator. All sharp angles and shadowy surfaces designed to absorb rather than reflect energy signatures. Behind her, the door hissed open. Captain, greeted Dr. Ramirez, the ship's chief medical officer. Like Vargas, Ramirez belonged to an elite cadre of specialists known informally as the Phantoms, humans specifically selected for their extraordinary adaptability, even by Earth standards. Doctor, Vargas acknowledged. I assume you've been briefed. Arxian hostages, Scourge pirates, and a request for minimal violence. Ramirez nodded. An interesting challenge for a ship designed primarily for deep infiltration and asymmetric warfare. Vargas turned to face the doctor fully. At 42, Vargas retained the tough, wiry build of someone raised in Earth's most inhospitable regions. Born in the high-altitude settlements of the Andes, she had spent her childhood breathing air that would leave most humans gasping, developing extraordinarily efficient lungs and blood composition that could extract oxygen from what other species would consider toxic atmospheres. The Admiral believes our unique capabilities may offer advantages in this situation, Vargas said. The Scourge evolved on a temperate world with abundant resources. They've never had to adapt to harsh conditions. And they've certainly never faced humans who consider those harsh conditions merely uncomfortable, Ramirez added with a small smile. After surviving the irradiated zones of what was once called the Australian outback, the Doctor had developed remarkable radiation tolerance and specialized in surviving environments that would kill most sentient species. Precisely. Gather the crew for briefing in 20 minutes. We launch in 2 hours. The Whisper's bridge hummed with activity as its specialized crew prepared for departure. Unlike standard military vessels with dozens of redundant personnel, the Whisper operated with just 12 crew members, each one a specialist in extreme survival scenarios. Lieutenant Commander Zoya Petrov, the tactical officer, had grown up in the sub-zero temperatures of New Siberia. Her body adapted to function efficiently in cold that would kill most humans within hours. Chief Engineer Marcus Wong had spent 15 years maintaining deep-sea habitats amid crushing pressures at the bottom of Earth's oceans. Security Chief Jamal Davis had served as a rescue specialist in the volatile volcanic regions of the Pacific Ring. Every member of the Whisper's crew represented humanity's extraordinary capacity to endure and thrive in conditions that most coalition species considered uninhabitable. Mission parameters. Vargas began once everyone had assembled. The Archean research vessel Harmony of Worlds has been captured by Scourge raiders. 23 survivors are being transported to an unknown location, likely a Scourge base in the Cygnus sector. Our mission is to intercept the Scourge vessel, rescue the Archeans, and do so with minimal violence if possible. Minimal violence, Captain. Petrov raised an eyebrow. That's not typically our specialty. The Archeans are philosophical pacifists, Vargas explained. Their request specifically mentioned nonviolent intervention if possible. Admiral Nakamura believes we may be able to leverage the Scourge's inexperience with Deathworlders to force a surrender rather than engaging in direct combat. Wong studied the holographic display of the Scourge vessel. Their ship is 3 times our size, heavily armed but relatively slow. Standard Scourge design. Efficient life support, comfortable internal environment. They've never had to evolve past their natural limitations, which gives us an advantage, Vargas said. Dr. Ramirez, what can you tell us about Scourge physiology? The doctor activated her datapad, projecting an image of a reptilian humanoid with mottled green scales and pronounced bone ridges. The Scourge evolved on a world with consistent temperatures between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Their physiology can't handle extreme temperature variations. Their respiratory system requires high oxygen levels and struggles with particulates or contaminants. Their sensory organs are acute but easily overwhelmed by intense stimuli. Vargas nodded. And the Archeans? Even more delicate, Ramirez continued. Low-gravity species with minimal muscle mass. Their respiratory system filters oxygen from their atmosphere at nearly 100% efficiency, but they can't process the higher concentrations found on Earth-like worlds without assistance. They're empaths, can literally sense emotional states in other species through pheromone detection. So they'll know if we're genuinely trying to help them, Davis observed. And they'll know if we're enjoying the violence too much, Ramirez added pointedly. Vargas studied her crew. Our advantage isn't our weapons. It's us. What our bodies can endure, what our minds can withstand. The Scourge believe themselves apex predators because they've never encountered true Deathworlders. She activated the main tactical display. Our approach will be unconventional. The Whisper's stealth capabilities will get us close. Then, rather than a traditional assault, we'll demonstrate exactly why Earth is classified as a death world. The crew leaned forward, intrigued by the unorthodox strategy forming in their captain's mind. The Whisper slipped through space like a shadow, its advanced propulsion system leaving barely a whisper of energy for sensors to detect. Captain Vargas stood on the bridge, watching as they closed on the Scourge vessel. Intercept in 10 minutes, announced Navigator Collins. They still haven't detected us. Life signs? Vargas asked. Confirmed. 38 scourge signatures and 23 weaker signals consistent with Arxian physiology, reported Dr. Ramirez. The Arxians are being held in what appears to be a cargo hold near the vessel's center. Vargas nodded. Maintain stealth approach. When we're within communication range, I want to open a channel, visual and audio. The bridge crew exchanged surprised glances. You want them to see us coming? Asked Petrov. I want them to see exactly who's coming for them, Vargas corrected. Engineer Wong, prepare for a controlled atmospheric breach on my mark. Lieutenant Davis, ready the boarding team. Stealth suits but minimal protective gear. Minimal gear. Davis looked concerned. Captain, our intel suggests the Scourge ship's atmosphere contains sulfur compounds toxic to humans. I'm aware, Vargas replied calmly. That's precisely the point. Understanding dawned across the faces of her crew. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a demonstration of what humans could endure. Communication range achieved, announced the communications officer. On screen, Vargas ordered, and make sure they can see all of us. The main view screen activated, initially showing only the Scourge vessel. Then, as the channel opened, the screen split to reveal the bridge of the raider ship. A large reptilian figure occupied the central position, scales gleaming emerald and amber under harsh lights, vertical pupils narrowing as he processed the unexpected transmission. Scourge vessel, Vargas began, her voice steady and measured. This is Captain Elena Vargas of the United Earth vessel Whisper. You are holding Arxian citizens against their will. Release them immediately, and you may leave peacefully. For a moment, the Scourge commander stared in apparent confusion. Then his mouth opened in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. Humans, he hissed, the translator rendering his speech with a slight delay. One tiny ship against a Scourge raider. Your species truly does have more courage than sense. Commander Vasix, Vargas replied, noting his surprised reaction at hearing his name. Your reputation for preying on non-combat vessels is well documented. The Arxians have requested our assistance. I'll say this once more, release them, and we'll allow you to depart. Vasix laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across his bridge. I command a warship with a crew of hardened raiders. You have what? 10, 12 humans in a scout vessel. Perhaps I'll add you to my collection. Human slaves fetch high prices in certain markets. Vargas allowed herself a small smile. Engineer Wong, initiate Phase 1. Without warning, the Whisper accelerated from stealth approach to attack velocity, the G-forces instantly climbing to levels that would crush most coalition species. Inside the bridge, the crew barely reacted, their bodies long accustomed to such extremes. On the view screen, Vasix's expression shifted from amusement to alarm as the Whisper performed a maneuver that should have been physically impossible, diving beneath the Scourge vessel's defensive array and coming up alongside its hull. What are you? Vasix began, but Vargas cut the transmission. Boarding team, prepare for deployment, she ordered. Remember, we're not here to kill. We're here to show them exactly why the galaxy fears Deathworlders. As the boarding team moved toward the airlock, Captain Vargas allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Scourge were about to learn that humans didn't need weapons to be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They simply needed to be themselves. Deathworld diplomacy. The airlock of the Whisper hissed open, connecting to the Scourge vessel through a precision-cut breach in the pirate ship's hull. Emergency containment fields shimmered at the junction, preventing catastrophic decompression. Lieutenant Jamal Davis led the 5-person boarding team, their specialized equipment minimal by any military standard. Atmospheric analysis complete, Davis reported through his communications implant. Oxygen levels at 13%, sulfur dioxide at 5,000 parts per million, ambient temperature 5 degrees Celsius, gravity 1.7 times Earth standard. On the Whisper's bridge, Captain Vargas nodded. Conditions. Uncomfortable, Davis replied matter-of-factly, but manageable. The boarding team wore only lightweight tactical suits, no helmets, no environmental protection beyond small breathing apparatuses that filtered the worst of the toxins. Each suit was equipped with external vital sign monitors that broadcast their biological readings in real time. Remember, Vargas cautioned, we're here to rescue the Arctians without bloodshed if possible. Make the Scourge understand that they face something they cannot comprehend. Davis gave a quick hand signal, and the team moved through the breach. Their first steps into the Scourge vessel brought them face to face with 3 stunned raiders who had rushed to investigate the hull breach. The reptilian pirates froze at the sight of humans, walking casually through an atmosphere that should have killed them instantly. "Greetings," Davis said calmly, the translation device at his throat converting his words. "We're here for the Arctians. Step aside, and you won't be harmed." The lead Scourge raider recovered from his shock and raised a plasma weapon. "Impossible," he hissed. "No species can survive our ship's internal atmosphere without full protection." Davis smiled as the vital sign monitors on his suit displayed numbers that would indicate severe physiological distress in any other species: elevated heart rate, increased core temperature, heightened adrenaline levels. Yet he stood relaxed, showing no outward signs of discomfort. "We're from Earth," he explained simply, as if that clarified everything. "A Class 12 death world." The term clearly resonated with the Scourge. Their yellow eyes widened, vertical pupils contracting to thin lines. In galactic classification, worlds were rated from Class 1, paradisiacal, to Class 12, extreme death zones. Most spacefaring species evolved on worlds rated Class 3 to Class 5. The Scourge homeworld was a comfortable Class 4. Before the pirates could respond, Davis tapped a control on his wrist. The corridor lights suddenly intensified to blinding levels, and a high-frequency sonic pulse emanated from devices the team had planted at the breach point. The combination was carefully calibrated to the Scourge's sensory vulnerabilities. The pirates dropped their weapons, clawing at their eyes and the auditory organs on the sides of their heads. Within seconds, they collapsed, incapacitated but unharmed. "Corridor secured," Davis reported, moving to locate the hostages. Commander Vazix pounded his scaled fist against the arm of his command chair as alarms blared across the bridge of the Scourge vessel. "What do you mean, they're just walking through the ship?" he snarled at his security chief. "Deploy all warriors to intercept." "Sir," the security chief responded, voice trembling, "the intruders are humans. They're breathing our atmosphere with minimal protection. The teams that encountered them report they're showing no signs of discomfort in conditions that should be lethal to oxygen breathers." "Impossible." Vazix rose from his chair, towering over his subordinate. "No species can." "They're from Earth," the security chief interrupted, then flinched at his own temerity. "A Class 12 death world." Vazix felt a cold sensation slide down his spine. Like most galactic citizens, he had heard the stories about Earth, a planet of such extreme conditions that its native life had evolved unimaginable adaptations. Humans were rumored to survive radiation, toxins, pressure changes, and temperature extremes that would kill most species instantly. But those were just stories. Exaggerations. They had to be. "Activate internal environmental controls," Vazix ordered. "Raise ambient temperature to maximum. Reduce oxygen content to minimum life support levels. Let's see how these Deathworlders handle that." On his command screen, he watched as the boarding team continued to move methodically through his ship. One of the humans, a female with dark skin and eyes that reflected light like a predator's, looked directly at a security camera and smiled, as if she had heard his order and found it amusing. Chief Engineer Wong's voice came through the Whisper's communication system. "Captain, the Scourge vessel is adjusting its environmental controls. Temperature rising rapidly, oxygen levels dropping." Vargas nodded. "Just as we anticipated." Status of the boarding team. "Vital signs stable," Dr. Ramirez reported from the medical station. "Core temperatures adjusting to compensate. They've activated their supplemental oxygen, but otherwise showing no distress. On the tactical display, Vargas watched as her team approached the cargo hold where the Arctians were being held. Petrov, prepare for Phase 2. Lieutenant Commander Petrov smiled coldly. With pleasure, Captain. Inside the Scourge vessel, the temperature had risen to nearly 50 degrees Celsius. The air had thinned to the point where most species would lose consciousness within minutes. The boarding team moved more slowly now, their bodies working harder, but they remained functional. We're approaching the cargo hold, Davis reported, encountering increased resistance. A dozen Scourge warriors had formed a defensive line outside the hold doors, armed with plasma rifles and shock batons. They were visibly struggling in the extreme heat their own commander had ordered, scales dulling as their bodies attempted to regulate their temperature. Final warning, Davis called out to them. Stand down and release the Arctians. The Scourge responded by opening fire. The boarding team took cover with inhuman speed, their reactions accelerated by the specialized stimulants Dr. Ramirez had provided before the mission. Davis nodded to Specialist Kelly, the team's environmental expert. Kelly removed a small device from her pack and activated it. Instantly, the corridor filled with a dense smoke, harmless but disorienting to the Scourge's sensitive olfactory organs. Now, Davis commanded. The team moved through the smoke with perfect coordination, their eyes adapted to low visibility conditions from childhoods spent in Earth's most dangerous environments. They disabled the Scourge warriors with precise strikes to pressure points identified by Dr. Ramirez, points where the reptilian nervous system was vulnerable. Within moments, the entire security detail lay unconscious, and the path to the cargo hold was clear. Hold secured, Davis reported, preparing to retrieve the hostages. On the bridge of the Whisper, Captain Vargas received the update with satisfaction. Excellent. Dr. Ramirez, prepare medical bay for Arxian casualties. Petrov, time for your contribution. Petrov activated the ship's external communication system, opening a channel to the Scourge vessel. Commander Vazix, she said, her voice carrying the cold edge of someone who had survived Arctic winters without technological assistance. Your security teams have been neutralized. Your environmental sabotage has failed. Our boarding team is currently retrieving the Arxian hostages. She paused, letting the information sink in. You have two options. Surrender your vessel and face coalition justice, or continue resistance and experience firsthand why humans are classified as the most dangerous species in known space. On the view screen, Vazix's scales had paled to a sickly yellow-green. Your team should be dead, he hissed. No species can survive those conditions. No species except humans, Petrov corrected. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Our bodies adapted. Our minds hardened. What you consider torture, we consider Tuesday. She leaned forward, her ice-blue eyes fixing on the Scourge commander. Did you know that humans can survive radiation levels that would cook most species from the inside? That we can continue functioning after losing limbs? That our immune systems can fight off pathogens that would devastate entire planets? Each statement was delivered as a simple fact rather than a threat, making it all the more terrifying. You have 2 minutes to decide, Petrov concluded. Surrender or consequences. In the cargo hold of the Scourge vessel, Lieutenant Davis used a molecular cutter to slice through the final lock. The reinforced door slid open to reveal 23 Arctians huddled together, slender, pale blue beings with large, luminous eyes and delicate limbs. One of them stepped forward, distinguished by formal robes adorned with scientific insignia. Ambassador Kilox, Davis greeted with a respectful nod. I'm Lieutenant Davis of the United Earth vessel Whisper. We're here to bring you home. The Arctian's eyes widened, pupils dilating as its empathic senses detected the boarding team's emotional state. You came, without protection. Kilox observed, voice melodic despite the translator. These conditions are lethal to most oxygen-breathing species. We're human, explained Specialist Kelly, as she began assessing the Arctians for injuries. We can handle it. Humans, Kalax repeated softly. From Earth, the Death World. We had heard stories, but the ambassador's voice trailed off as its empathic senses registered the complete absence of fear in the rescue team. We need to move quickly, Davis said. Can your people walk? Kalax nodded. We are weakened but mobile. Our physician, Nola, requires assistance. He gestured to an Arkshin lying on a makeshift bed, clearly injured. Kelly moved immediately to the wounded alien, medical scanner in hand. Multiple fractures, respiratory distress. We need to get her to our ship immediately. Davis nodded and lifted the injured Arkshin with careful precision. Despite his formidable strength, developed in Earth's crushing gravity, he handled the fragile being with extraordinary gentleness. This way, he directed the Arkshins. Stay close together. The atmosphere on our ship will be more comfortable for you. As they prepared to move, a communication came through from the whisper. Davis. Captain Vargas's voice rang clear in his implant. Status update. All 23 Arkshins located, Captain. One requires immediate medical attention. We're moving to extraction point now. Understood. The Scourge commander is considering our surrender ultimatum. Be prepared for either outcome. On the bridge of the Scourge vessel, Commander Vazix stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Half his crew was incapacitated. His environmental controls had failed to stop the human boarders, and now they were escorting the Arxian hostages back toward their ship. Sir, his communications officer reported nervously, we're receiving similar transmissions from 3 other Scourge vessels. They all report attacks by human ships. Vazix hissed in surprise. Impossible. The humans only sent 1 vessel. The transmissions appear genuine. Sir, the coordinates indicate the attacks are occurring simultaneously across the Cygnus sector. Vazix didn't know that these were false transmissions generated by the Whisper's advanced electronic warfare suite, a psychological operation designed by Lieutenant Commander Petrov to create the illusion of a coordinated human assault. Sir, the communications officer added, our 2-minute deadline has elapsed. As if on cue, the ship's artificial gravity suddenly failed, sending unprepared crew members floating from their stations. Life support systems fluctuated wildly, hot, cold, oxygen-rich, oxygen-poor, creating an environment of chaotic unpredictability that the Scourge physiology could not handle. What's happening? Vazix demanded, clinging to his command chair. His engineering chief looked up from a console, eyes wide with panic. Someone has accessed our main systems. They're manipulating environmental controls, gravity, everything. On the main view screen, Petrov's face appeared. Your time is up, Commander. This is merely a demonstration of what we can do without firing a single weapon. Surrender now, or we will be forced to get creative. In the Whisper's engineering section, Marcus Wong sat connected to an interface terminal, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. Years of working with deep-sea habitat systems had given him unparalleled insight into life support technologies. How are they enjoying the ride? He asked without looking up from his work. Captain Vargas watched the feed from the Scourge vessel with satisfaction. I believe they're reconsidering their life choices. Boarding team status. Approaching extraction point, Wong reported. All Arkshins accounted for. Time for the final. Vargas nodded. Make it memorable. Wong grinned and entered a final sequence. On the Scourge vessel, every system simultaneously reset. Gravity, life support, power, creating a momentary but terrifying sensation of complete environmental failure before restoring to normal parameters. The message was clear. We could kill you all with a keystroke, but we choose not to. Commander Vazix slumped in his command chair as systems returned to normal. His crew looked to him, scaled faces showing an emotion rarely seen among the Scourge. Fear. Sir, his security chief said quietly, the humans have extracted all the Arkshins. They're returning to their vessel. Vazix stared at the tactical display, watching as the boarding team and rescued hostages reached the breach point. They had moved through his ship like ghosts, immune to environmental conditions that should have killed them, effortlessly disabling his warriors without killing a single one. "Open a channel," he finally ordered. When Captain Vargas appeared on screen, Vasek straightened his posture in a final attempt at dignity. "You have retrieved your allies. Take them and go." "And what of your vessel, Commander?" Vargas asked evenly. Vasek struggled with words that no Scourge commander had ever spoken. "We surrender. Transmitting authentication codes now." Vargas nodded. "A wise decision. Coalition authorities have been notified of your location. They will arrive within 24 hours to take custody of your ship and crew." She paused, then added, "I suggest you do not attempt to flee. We would be forced to pursue, and I assure you, you would not enjoy what happens next." The transmission ended, leaving Vasek contemplating how thoroughly he had underestimated the species from Earth. As the Whisper disengaged from the Scourge vessel, the boarding team and the rescued Arxians gathered in the ship's medical bay. Dr. Ramirez moved efficiently among the aliens, her hand steady as she treated injuries. Ambassador Kilox approached Captain Vargas, who had come down from the bridge to check on their guests. "Captain," the Arxian began, voice filled with wonder, "I must express our profound gratitude. When we sent our distress signal, we did not expect such an extraordinary response." Vargas smiled. "The Arxian Cooperative has always treated humans with respect when many others wouldn't. We remember our friends. You subdued an entire Scourge raider without killing a single being," Kilox observed, "despite your fearsome capabilities. You requested nonviolent intervention if possible," Vargas replied simply. "We respected your wishes." The ambassador's large eyes studied her with undisguised fascination. "Your species, you are not what the galaxy believes you to be. They fear you as mindless brutes, creatures evolved from a nightmare world who know only survival and violence." Lieutenant Davis, who had joined them, laughed softly. "Oh, we're definitely creatures from a nightmare world. But what most species don't understand is that surviving the death world doesn't just make you strong. It teaches you restraint." Vargas nodded in agreement. "When every day is a struggle, you learn to measure your response precisely, to use only the force necessary. Otherwise, you exhaust yourself fighting battles that don't matter." "Like a predator who knows when not to waste energy," Kilox observed. "Exactly," Vargas confirmed. "Today, we didn't need to destroy the Scourge. We just needed to show them that they weren't the apex predators they believed themselves to be." Kilox's delicate hands clasped together in a gesture of respect. "When we return to Coalition space, I will speak of what you have done here. Perhaps it is time the galaxy understood that humans are not to be feared for their strength alone, but respected for how they choose to use it." As the Whisper plotted its course back to Earth space, carrying its grateful passengers to safety, Captain Vargas reflected on the ambassador's words. Humans had emerged from a world that had tried to kill them at every turn, developing adaptations and resilience that terrified the rest of the galaxy. But perhaps their greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive the unsurvivable. It was knowing when to show mercy. In a universe full of species that had evolved in comfort, humanity's greatest advantage wasn't that they were Deathworlders. It was that they understood death intimately enough to value life in all its forms. "Set course for Coalition space," Vargas ordered, returning to the bridge. "Let's take our friends home." Behind them, the Scourge vessel hung disabled in space, its crew contemplating a painful lesson. In the vast darkness between stars, there were predators, and there was prey. And then there were humans, who defied such simple categorization. The galaxy would be watching more closely now, wondering what else the Deathworlders might be capable of. And Earth, for its part, would continue standing guard at the edge of civilized space, not as the monster other species feared, but as the silent guardian they never knew they needed.